Yes, Wildwind Boat Park on this Thursday afternoon. Firstly, apologies for missing yesterday's scheduled live from the boat park, but unfortunately I could not make that at all. So I hope that the videos that I put out at that time made up for that. So I hope so. But it's good to see you out there, and good to be back live from the boat park. What have we got to report? Let's flip this bad boy round. Okay, what we are reporting just now is, you're not going to believe it, but champagne sailing conditions, July, and there's actually only been 2 days in July when it hasn't been windy in the afternoon. So statistically, it's been a very good month. Welcome to everybody who's just tuning in. Great to have you guys on board as always. Yeah, so champagne sailing conditions, but as well as it being champagne, hi Flo, nice to have you with us on this Thursday afternoon. As well as it being champagne sailing conditions, the big theme that we're running at the moment is that it has been ridiculously hot. Yeah, so hot, just ridiculously hot. Hi Jerome, how hot do you reckon it is, Charlie?
35 degrees.
35 degrees, and yeah, that is pretty hot. I'm actually out at the moment. We've clearly got this laser just approaching, but a bit further out I think we've just got just a couple of boats. Everybody's been hard at it all afternoon, giving it some serious beans in these conditions, which is very nice indeed. On the what's coming up on Joyrider TV news, coming up, we've got, I just went out earlier on today and filmed, is it possible to sail a Hobie 16 with no rudders? That is going to be a hot ticket when that comes out. Yes, that's very exciting. So hopefully I'll have that edited tomorrow morning and out. Oh, and hello to everyone else. All right, sorry, everything just appeared at once. Hi James, hello Nacra Sailing, hi Kush, hi Jerome, hi Frank. Do you have a boat in your fleet with a barber hauler? If so, can you walk me through how it is set up? Hi Rodrigo. All right, I'm gonna have a look at that in a second, James. How is your GoPro mounted to the bridle wires on the Hobie 16? All right. I'm gonna go and take a look at this barber hauler arrangement for Frank, sorry. All right, I'm really taking one for the team here by having to go down a ladder one-handed in this wind. Yeah, so the real answer to that question is no, we don't have anything with a barber hauler arrangement, but there's a few jib traveller arrangements that are used in the boat park. So just go put some mileage down here. Let's flip this bad boy around so we can see where we're going. And we're firstly going to take a look at, I think a Tornado is probably irrelevant because that's a self-tacking jib on there, which I know for a fact the Prindle 15 is not rocking a self-tacking jib these days, unless I'm mistaken. But this is a Pacific, which has got a fairly standard jib system, and here the jib car is on a track that is integral to the beam, but if you haven't got a track like this, then you could retrofit by riveting a piece of track, one with the kind of the pull pin to make the adjustment. You could do this sort of thing. This is obviously a little bit involved because it goes inside the beam, but you could do one with just a flat mounted block on the beam with a rope a cleat and a retrofitted track on the top. In fact, we've got just the very thing, going into far too much detail already, but that's what we're here for, is far too much detail. All right, absolute champagne conditions, and I didn't manage to get out in there, which is it's a shame. But here we go. Yeah, this is more the vibe. This 1988 Hobie 16 that is currently being restored in the boat park. So this is what I mean by retrofitting a track to the beam. Just get a section of track, rivet it on, get some sort of slider there. This is the original Hobie Jib Traveller, and then a little pulley at the end here. On a 16 it's actually mounted, and then a little cleat like this. I think that would do you. All right, I'm just going to go back to the shade, and then because it is very hot indeed at the moment. Did I mention that? I'll probably mention it several times just to really mention that. All right, coming back to a position of slightly less heat. All right, so just scrolling back already. I think leaving it for the extra day might have built up a bit of anticipation with the questions. So that was Frank with that question. Cooper A, hey Joe, how is your GoPro mounted to the bridle wires on your 16? Okay, that is a very good question. I have actually done a video which talks you through that, but without going all the way to the workshop to get the fittings, I can kind of explain it, which is like, what you can do is take, so this is what we call a chain plate. We could take another chain plate like this and slot it either side of this flat bit of a chain plate, or actually squeeze it a bit to get it in here, and then you can actually put a nut and bolt through here, so it's very much a mechanically put together piece where it can't possibly come apart. And then to the end of the chain plate you can fit the GoPro. So pretty straightforward stuff. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. But I'll once the dust settles, I'll put a link to that video that shows how to GoPro mount on the bridle wires. And if you happen to see the video, the how long can I fly a hole for video, in that one I also used a stabilizing gimbal which fitted on there as well. And perhaps I should make another video just to sort of show how that whole rig was put together, because that was an exciting rig. Right, just changing to an even more shady location just here. Yes, that's nice. All right, I'm just back with Frank. I'm planning on using a cheek block cam cleat 2-inch ring around a jib. Okay, nice idea. Yes, yeah, so that would be much more of a traditional, a barber hauler would be like Frank is describing there, where you have a ring around the jib sheet, and the jib sheet is actually pulled outboard by a ring. Hold on, let's simulate. So we can use this Spinnaker sheet instead. Imagine this is a ring going like this, and you'd have a thing that pulls it outboard, changing your sheeting angle, or if you release it, it will come back inboard. So that would be the traditional term. Overheating of the Wi-Fi signal constantly. We are in the market of breaking the internet here on Joyrider TV. All right, Shane asks, what is the best things to upgrade on your Hobie 16? I would say if you've got an older Hobie 16 which doesn't have the 6-to-1 downhaul system, I think the 6-to-1 downhaul system is the single best upgrade you could put on there. And actually, this is quite fortunate. Some of our boats have been put away incorrectly, which means it's still on there. So this is the 6-1 downhaul system. We've got a block at the bottom with a cleat, a block at the top, which would go to the underside of the boom and gives you a tremendous amount more downhaul that you can pull on there. Other than that, upgrades for the 16. One popular one which is talked about quite a lot is the Aussie style jib halyard system, which is what we're using here, where we've got an extra block here, an extra block here, so you get more purchase pulling the jib halyard on. But I would say that system doesn't have as big an impact to your sailing as the extra purchase on the downhaul. So I'd say don't bother with that jib halyard system, but I would say the biggest upgrade you can give your Hobie 16 if you're in the market of going fast and giving it the beans would be, of course, the EPO 3 rudder blades. But there you're going to need to remortgage your house or something, because those bad boys are expensive. Another one which can really, if your boat's quite old and you really want to make your boat look new or newer, a lot newer, a new trampoline makes a massive difference. We got these trampolines this year made by OS3 here, not only in Greece but in Vasiliki. That's where they were made. And I'm just trying to get a price out of Thanos from OS3. Yeah, I think that is the way. That EPO 3 is probably more expensive than half of the Hobie 16s in the world. Not put together, of course. All right, just scrolling back. So that's some upgrades. All right. Scrolling back. Okay, we've got Simon. Hey, Joe. Stoked on your videos. You're the man. Oh, thank you very much. You are very kind. Any suggestions for your favourite UV protectant for older Hobie hulls? To be honest, this is outside of my realm of both expertise and experience, so I couldn't give you a very good answer on that one, I'm afraid. So I think Captain Google has got a better idea on that than I have. But thanks for the question. Sorry, I couldn't answer it. Scrolling back. I think sometimes I just have to admit when I don't know the answer. That's better than just trying to make something up and it not being very accurate. It's Russell. Hey Joe, coming to show us your cat soon. Hung out with Jeff last weekend in North Carolina. Fantastic. All right, looking forward to seeing Russell and Jeff in action. That is exciting. Jeff is doing a fantastic job with being the reporter for Show Us Your Cat. Very exciting times there. This is great. All right. We got Kevin, who is One Shoe Phil's dad. Have to say they're booked for late August. Can't wait. Great idea there, Kevin. I hope One Shoe Phil is coming too, perhaps with an extra shoe. You might remember One Shoe Phil from, I can't remember if the video was it the one on the Hobie 15 or was it the 16? It might have been the 15. And yeah, be great to see you, and we'll certainly be ready to get out there, give it some of the biggest beans. Here's Benjamin. Do you guys have any Prindles? Brackets, the superior brand. No, we don't have any Prindles, although I would absolutely love to get my hands on one. But I think because Prindle never had a manufacturing base in Europe, it means they're much more rare in Europe than the Hobie, which of course have got a large factory in the south of France. So Hobie are a much larger brand than anything else on the planet, but they are everywhere in Europe because they have got the factory in France. But if I could get hold of a 15 like Frank's, or a 16 or an 18, I wouldn't go poking around with more modern Prindles like the 18-2 or the 19, but the asymmetric hulled Prindles I would be very interested to have a go on, see how fast they could go. But thanks for the question, that's a good one. Liked it. We've got Simon, had a Spinnaker to my Prindle 16, another Prindle sailor, good to have you with us. If I have to tilt my mast, hold on, what's that say? Further back. No, you shouldn't have to, when adding a Spinnaker to your boat, you shouldn't have to do anything with your mast rake to adjust for the difference that the Spinnaker is going to make. The one thing you would have to do is when fitting the Spinnaker pole on the boat, and here we have a Spinnaker pole on a boat, the height of the Spinnaker pole, so could be up a bit more or down a bit more, but that height will have a bit of an influence on whether the Spinnaker is going to lift the bows or drop the bows down. Traditionally, you'd say in the lighter winds you want to have the bowsprit a bit lower, and then in the stronger winds a bit higher, but nobody actually changes it for the wind strength. But if the Spinnaker is designed specifically for the Prindle 16, then it shouldn't make the bows dig in anymore. But I would definitely recommend, when you're first taking your boat out with the Spinnaker up, do it in lighter winds first and build yourself up to a bit more wind. That would be a very good idea. Okay, thanks for the question, that's a good one. We've got Nicholas, more virtual regatta. Yes, unfortunately these days I just have not got time for more virtual regatta. It is a game that is really quite addictive, and if you would say, oh yeah, we'll just do 3 races, that is actually impossible. You just get sucked in, and before you know it, you've done about an hour and a half. But once the season finishes here in Greece, I'll be going back to running the virtual regatta events, the Joyrider TV virtual regatta events, once a week, which I think were a huge success during lockdown. So that'll be great if people are keen to get involved with that. But that won't be until towards the end of October. So good to have some interest there. I really enjoyed it. James in Georgia, I believe, been in the mid to high 90s here. Toasty. I think we're experiencing plenty of toastiness. Here's Alejandro. Do you have a Hobie Getaway in your fleet? These don't have a boom. Wondered if you could show a heave to manoeuvre without a boom. We haven't got a Getaway, unfortunately. I've seen since we've started making these videos how popular they are around the world, and it would be a worthy addition to the fleet. Because the boat doesn't have a boom, doesn't actually make any difference at all with the procedure of heaving to. For those of you who don't know, heaving to is basically parking your boat. So to heave to or park your boat, what you could do is you firstly let out the mainsail and the traveller. Next, you could put the jib on the wrong side. That is an important part of this heaving to or parking up. Once your jib's on the wrong side, you can then push the rudders across as if you were tacking, and then the boat will sit very nicely and it won't go forwards, which is really handy. So I think I will make a separate video just on heaving to, because it is a very important skill to have in your skill set for strong winds or for light winds. Very handy for before the start of a race. or perhaps you just want to take a break, or perhaps you've had a man overboard, you want to get your man overboard back on the boat. Really useful to be able to stop your boat. So yes, I'll do a video on that, and perhaps I'll do it in a variety of different boats as well, so you can see how the same technique can be applied to different boats. Thanks very much, that was a great question. Just going to scroll back there, see what is in next. Matthew, hi, nice to have you with us as always. Don't forget to, while I'm scrolling back, don't forget to hit the like button. That is really important. All right, we've got Rodrigo. Advice on best choice of 6-to-1 blocks for the Hobie 16. Harken automatic carbos 5757 or 5740. I reckon I'd have to look it up, to be honest. I'm not very good at knowing what size blocks are by the kind of numbers. But I would say the smaller ones would probably be all right, because here we go, just flipping this round. Because we can see this top block here, this is actually a Pacific, but it is the same. But if you're using the 5mm rope on there for your downhaul, the kind of micro blocks, which are what we generally call a block like this size, they're big enough, and the Harkens can absolutely 100% handle massive loads. So if the rope runs through, go for the smallest blocks you can, as long as the rope runs through there nicely. That was a great question. Thanks, Rodrigo. I'll try to learn a bit more about block sizes, because I don't really know so much. Well, I can't recite the block sizes. Hi, Christian. Nice to have you with us, as always. Christian was one of the key competitors in the virtual regatta series, of course, as everyone knows who followed it. Shane, right on, did that 6-to-1 main, and I'll do that for the downhaul. Nice one, Shane. Oh yeah, of course, that's what I missed on the upgrades for the 16. If you are not yet running the 6-to-1 main sheet system, that would be a key upgrade to change your main sheet blocks. It would be quite an expensive upgrade, but still cheaper than getting the EPO 3s. And having a nice main sheet system just makes sailing so much easier. So well worth having a look there. Okay, just scrolling back. Scrolling back. Oh yeah, there's German's fan. EPO 3s are more expensive than my Hobie 16. They are expensive, but it's very difficult to say, are they worth it? Because for us here, they were definitely worth it. And we had to buy 12 of them. That's a lot of money. But we bought 12, I think 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and they are still going strong. Where before that, when we were on the White Knight rudder blades, we were breaking one rudder blade perhaps every week, maybe 2 weeks. So the EPO 3s are very strong. But if you're not sailing in strong winds a lot, and you're not sending it, giving it the beans, taking it down the mine shaft, then maybe you don't need those EPOs. So thanks very much, EPO 3s. All right, Alejandro, wind direction for beginner sailors. Light wind days are very difficult. Would you suggest a wind indicator for the Hobie Getaway, or is it just a trick I could use? Aha, there is a trick you can use. And this is one of the best tricks ever pulled. You don't need to go forking out for a wind indicator. You can just smash up one of your own old VHS video cassettes, or perhaps even a audio cassette, pull a bit of the tape out from inside, and this is actually, in my opinion, as all of this stuff is in my opinion, you can just use some of this. This is just tied onto the bridle wires here using a clove hitch. This is a little bit shorter than optimal, but yeah, just tie a bit of tape to the front of your boat, both sides, and that's the only wind indicator you need. You don't need to go spending money on a wind indicator. Just going to ask Rob.
Yeah.
This is Rob, one of the key Joyriders here at the Joyrider zone at Wild Wind. How much would you say would cost an actual wind indicator?
I wouldn't know. More than a bit of tape.
You heard it here first.
That matters.
That is juicy. I reckon 20 euros.
You reckon?
I reckon
Yeah.
20 euros. And you could buy a lot of tapes for that. Okay, so there we go. That is just my opinion. Yarn. Yes, I would say yarn would work rather well. As long as it still works when it's wet, I think that is the thing. Right, just scrolling back. Yeah, so for the light wind days, use audio tape. For the heavy wind days, use video tape if you are going to be really on it. Frank asks, does the sun cause delamination of the hulls if the hulls aren't covered when you're not sailing? No, it doesn't seem to. I think it will over a very long time, but we have a fleet of boats out here, mostly uncovered, and we don't have any problems with delamination caused by the sun. It usually, when we get any delamination, when we've opened the boat up and had a look, it's usually due to a manufacturing glitch, let's call it. Yep, Jake Betamax is going to do you a great job there. Yeah, so I think, yeah, with these boats like the Prindle or the Hobie 16, I don't think you have to worry about delamination from UV on the hulls. On the sails though, if you've got laminate sails like Mylar or Pentex sails, then UV will absolutely destroy those bad boys. So keep them out of the sun unless you are actually sailing. Okay. Maritime Canadian. Could you do a detailed video, hello by the way, of the retrieval system on the Tornado? I just converted mine from pin top to sport rig. Yeah, I think we could take a look at that. Have a look at, if you haven't seen it yet, I did a video, put it out there maybe last week, maybe the week before. Oh, sorry, there's Chris in Texas with perhaps a bit of explanation about the Prindle delamination problem due to no ribbing or bulkheads inside the hull. Yeah, sorry, Maritime Canadian. Yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, take a look at the video I made of assembling the Tornado last week. And towards the end of that video, I'm explaining the Spinnaker system on the boat that I was taking it all through. So worth a look there if you haven't seen it yet. And perhaps if you have a look at there, leave me a comment on that video if it explained what it was that you were looking for explanation. But it does definitely go through the retrieval and the whole of the Spinnaker system. All right. So, scrolling. All right, scrolling back. Matt T. Any tips on jibing a laser? As I've only been sailing 2 months and my tubes aren't very good. My tubes aren't very good? Is that a bit of auto correct, do we suppose? Yeah, I think one of the main tips with jibing a laser or jibing anything is go into it with speed and confidence. But to be honest, I feel a little bit underqualified to give laser advice out because, yes, I sailed a laser, but no, I'm by no means an expert. But the way to get a better jibe is to encourage the sail to come across sooner, and you do that by sheeting in a little bit as you're going into the jibe. And then with the laser, the trick is, as the sail is just about to come across, you really give the main sheet a good flick, and that will stop the main sheet from catching on the corner, which of course is the all-time most popular problem with the laser. What does say about that? Jibing a laser.
Go fast. Keep fast. Turn out. Commit.
Be aggressive. That's how Will is in the Zeus bar in the evening. Yeah, okay, we're just pulling a speedboat out of the sea. Thought I'd get involved.
All right. Whew. All right, just scrolling back. Thanks to Will for that insight. Whew. Give us a second. Okay, this is definitely live. That is for sure. Okay, scrolling back. All right, now we have Costas. Is there a cat would you recommend for someone like me who's trying to sailing single-handed with the weight of the boat and how much of an effort it is to wrangle on the beach? Randy's in there with Getaway, just the main and jib. Yeah, that sounds like a good choice. There are so many good choices of catamaran these days. In the Hobie camp, the as shown here would be the traditional choice because that was Hobie's first man altogether. But the Hobie 14 is quite as quick a provision. Is you can pick them up second hand for not very much at all. And as long as you start off sailing in light wind and build yourself up. Am I losing feed? I thought I cleared up the signal there. Yeah, so the Hobie 14 manage on the beach, but there's a lot there. All right, scrolling back. Yeah, I've got German's fan who says he thinks the 16 is a nice beginner cat, and they're so. I agree with that 100%. The only thing that the 14 has got over the 16 is it's a much lighter boat to manage on the beach, and if you capsize the 14, you don't need as much weight to bring it back upright. But other than that, I'd say the 16 is the ultimate because it will grow with you, and yeah, it's a great choice, and there's a lot of them about, which means you can get them for less. Danielle says, can you cater for solo learners? Well, I think a lot of the videos I do, I'm doing it on my own, so I like to think that that maybe is ticking the box for people doing things on their own. But perhaps if you can elaborate on that a little bit, or perhaps even send me an email, totaljoyrider@icloud.com, and I'll see if I can sort of angle the videos a little bit more so that they're really hitting the spot as you'd want them to be hitting. Scrolling back. Scrolling back. All right, we've got Mr. Red, who is 47 and getting back to sailing after 20 years, considering RS Zest or RS, I'm guessing that would be Aero. What would you recommend? Okay, two very different beasts. I'm actually sitting next to a Zest right now. How did I know that this was going to come up? But yeah, the Zest is a great choice. It is a roto-molded boat, which means it's made of plastic, which means it's pretty much indestructible. It rigs in seconds, and as you might have seen in the Zest video, then it's really good fun, but it's not a performance boat. If you want to get into racing at all, the Zest isn't going to take you on that journey. It's going to take you on the fun journey, not on the racing journey. The Aero, however, is a state-of-the-art, single-handed racing dinghy. State-of-the-art. It's extremely lightweight. It's got a carbon mast, carbon boom, significantly more expensive and significantly more fragile. The Zest is, I wouldn't say incredibly underpowered. I'd say it's not so well powered up, but it is a boat aimed at the beginner market, so it's not going to be as powerful as a Laser or, of course, the Aero, which is a much more powerful boat. Yeah, so they're two very different ships there. The other one to consider, of course, would be the Laser, which is an extremely versatile boat. And like the Hobie 16, there are so many Lasers around, that would be the best choice if you want to pick something up used for not too much money. Whereas with the Zest or the Aero, it's a more modern boat and there's not so many of them around which are used. So there you go. I hope that answers that to some degree. All right. Scrolling back. Oh yeah, so Matt 1 recommends the Laser Pico, which is, the Laser Pico is like the original version of the Zest. Or I've got the RS Cuba here as well, which is another more modern design. With the newer designs like the Zest or the Cuba, the big improvement over the Pico was they made them a little bit wider, more spacious, and so you're not going to feel quite as cramped sailing one as an adult, whereas the Pico is a little bit tighter. It was more designed for kids rather than adult beginners, I think. So the newer boats do give a bit more, but the Pico, you're more likely to be able to pick one up for less money as well. So there's choices out there. All of them are good choices. All right. And we have Rodrigo. Is it possible to record a video with tips, techniques to start regattas with a Hobie 16? Yeah, it is on the list of videos that I'm going to make in the near future. And I'm actually really looking forward to doing that one because I think that is going to be a really good one. And it's something that interests me a lot. So yes, I am going to do it. Yes, it's on the list. And yes, I am going to do it. So thanks for the question. I'd just like to say hello to Jake. And hello to Kuro 5150. Is that the Eddie Van Halen PV amplifier perhaps? Considering buying a catamaran for fun and club racing for some time, would you consider going for a Hobie 16 or for an F18 such as a Tiger? Oh, that's a great question. I would say the answer to that question would be who is going to be crewing. If you've got a regular crew, somebody who's going to sail with you, who is equally as into it as you are, then the F18 would be a good choice. But if you're going to be kind of going between many different crews, perhaps less experienced crews, or perhaps very lightweight crews, perhaps you're going to have kids sailing with you more often, then the Hobie 16 would be the better choice. But if you've got two adults perhaps weighing in 150, 160, let's say 170, let's push it out there and say 180, then the F18 is perhaps going to tick more boxes than the 16, which in those weight brackets, the 16 really comes alive in 20 knots plus, whereas the F18 will be delivering it in less wind more often. So there you go. I hope that was a really good answer and one that you like. Also to bear in mind when choosing your boat for racing is, what does everybody else sail who is local to you? If there's a massive Hobie 16 fleet, then for me, that's a no-brainer. I'd want to be in that fleet. I'd want to be in whatever the biggest fleet is, which gets out most often. So the 16 would be a good choice there, or the F18. Okay, just scrolling back. Scrolling back. Scrolling back. And scrolling back. Just having a look. Scrolling back. Scrolling back. Oh, it's all right. It's pointing this way.
All right.
Yeah.
Let you know something.
Okay, we've got Pirate Sam. Last week he came in with the GPS. Today he's come in with a specific problem with a boat.
Hello.
This is a feature called Today's Specific Problem with Pirate Sam. And over
more than one per day usually. Just a small tear on the foot of a Tiger Spinnaker. I've just pulled it out just enough so you can see it. So you can have a look for it later.
yeah. Okay, thanks very much.
Yeah. Goodbye everybody.
Is it? Could you put it in the book?
It is in the book.
Okay, so there we go. We've got a tear to a Spinnaker. Not too uncommon in these parts at all, unfortunately. It happens quite a lot. Okay. All right, we've got Manuel. Hi. Why are kites typically categorized into symmetrical and asymmetrical ones? Is there a big difference? Yeah, they are. Yes, in answer to your question, yes, there is a big difference. A symmetrical Spinnaker is how Spinnakers first were, where the Spinnaker was a symmetrical shape, and the main difference with a symmetrical Spinnaker is you have a pole that you have to change sides of the Spinnaker when you jibe. So the pole actually sticks out to windward of your boat slightly, rather than just straight out of the middle, like on a boat with an difficult to operate. And also, but on the other hand, the symmetrical Spinnaker is more suited to sailing straight downwind than the asymmetric Spinnaker. The asymmetric Spinnaker works more like a Spinnaker, which is there to pull you downwind. So yes, and yes, big differences there. I hope that cleared that up fairly quickly. I'm going to start going for slightly quicker answers because I want to wrap this up pretty soon, if I may. All right, scrolling back, and scrolling back. Oh, we've still got a way to go. Okay, are we back? Are we back on? I don't know if we are. Okay, I don't even know if I'm here just yet. But in case I am still here, just going to quickly answer these questions. All right. How would you go about fixing a casting that's ripped out of the fiberglass? Epoxy, question mark? I think it depends on what the rest of the boat is made of. If it's made with polyester resin, then perhaps polyester would be better, but epoxy is generally seen as the more exotic and stronger